Welcome back to the Occasionally Accountable podcast.
Welcome back.
I am B Nation.
And I am Briana.
Yes, and we're back for another week. Hey.
Hi.
Episode, actually,
don't
I've had the numbers fucked up.
No,
I just realized we found that out.
I don't feel super confident
25, I don't know.
that you know what number it is right now, so let's just get past that.
I think it's 25, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I could have said more there. I realized that. Like, that's the type of week that I've had where someone's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. How are you? Like, I'm the robot. Hey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. I responded like an out of office message because I very much feel out of office. I'm just kind of on autopilot.
I feel you.
Which is fine, I guess.
It
is what it is. We're here today.
That plays very perfectly in what we're going to talk about today.
How are you?
Same. So let's just do it.
Let's jump in.
No, yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week. And to that is kind of like, I wanted to talk about like emotional safe spaces in a way, and like how we kind of deal and cope and things with discomfort, specifically like emotional discomfort. And kind of tie it in to what you're saying is, earlier this week I had a conversation with one of my male friends, the homies, and they had asked me, it's not somebody I talk to very frequently, but, whatever. And he was like, oh, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then he was like, no, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, sure.
I'm fine. How are you?
Right? And like really got into a conversation. And then at some point he asked about a situation that is, a little bit of a tougher situation for me, something that happened. And I could feel myself immediately go into like, it's good. Like, I'm good. Like, oh yeah, it's hard, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like very like in the moment, kind of almost distancing myself from it. And I think that like, and in a way I completely downplayed how I really felt. And I don't think I noticed it right then. It's been me like processing it all week, to be honest. But I for sure think that in that space I had like kind of downplayed. And as he was like asking more questions, I definitely got into how I really felt a little bit more and more. But one, it was a situation where it was so shocking to me because afterwards I thought to myself, I really felt like heard. Like he had asked me, he kind of probed a little bit to be like, no, you for real? But then also like, sorry, I'm not crying, y'all. My eyes literally just watering. But it was the first time in a long time where he listened, he asked questions, and he didn't bring himself up at all. The entire time. And we didn't even talk about him until I was like, well, how are you doing? Like, how is this going? How's work? Whatever. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I think it's been a while since I've felt like heard, like genuinely heard, and that somebody really like cared to know the depth of my answer. You know what I'm saying? And to like not necessarily add in, oh, because I went through something, you know what I'm saying? Just to really just listen.
Yeah.
And it was a reminder of like, oh wow, like I haven't been around like not y'all listen to me. Sorry, I don't want this to seem like it's a shot at y'all because it's not.
I was gonna bring up the way that I responded to you.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna, but finish. But
it was like, oh, this is what it feels like to feel like really listened to. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know that I have a lot of spaces that I feel like emotionally safe to be that vulnerable with. And some of it isn't other people. Some of it is my own, like, how I interact with being emotionally safe. And I hope you're okay with saying this. Like, when I had asked you, I was like, because I want to get to like how in my home, am I growing up with my family? Yeah. Okay. I was like, you know, when I think about it, like, I don't think I ever felt emotionally safe in my home to be vulnerable or to say I'm hurting or to say all those things. And I was like, damn, like, Brie, have you? And you're like, no, I'm Black.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was really breaking down that I was like, wow, like, this is also a childhood thing. This is also like, it's much deeper than I had really thought about it. And to my friend who, when you listen to this, you'll know who you are. I also know that you're going to be like, oh, I didn't mean to. I'm glad that you did, because it also allowed me for the rest of the week to really sit back and think and process where I really was with this situation. Because even though I've done, I feel like, a lot of work around it, there was ways in which I was realizing, oh, there are things you did not
finish processing.
I'll just make sure. I thought I was nervous that I wasn't ready. There are things that you haven't fully processed, or you are still processing through. And I remember at some point I said to him, I was like, you know, I'm grieving. And he was like, that's real. And I was like, I still am. And I think for me, because time goes on and it's been almost like 2 years now, I don't always stop and go, where are you at within this grieving process? And I've said on a previous episode, like, I've always had hesitancy to call it that, specifically because it's like, the person didn't die,
right?
You know, but it is like, I can no longer like have relationship with a person that was my best friend. Yeah. And like what that means for me and all of the things around it. So one last thing before
You're saying so many good things.
I know, I'm getting it.
I need to bring a notepad so I can like write down my thoughts.
The other thing is like, I had really, sorry, go ahead, because my brain just went left. Go ahead. What were you saying?
So first, back up. When you talked about like feeling like you don't have a space where you can fully be open and honest, or when you talk to people, it's really hard, and I agree with that, hard to come across people that can just listen to you without adding their own flavor and spice. I will say, like, you know, taking on someone else's emotional burden is a lot, and I think, and I'm saying, I don't want to sound like you were an emotional burden because you have feelings, like, not that, but I think sometimes people's lives be lifing. Yeah. And so you had texted me and said something that was a little off, and I was like, are you good? But I don't know if you noticed, like, and you responded the way you responded, kind of explaining a little bit, and I was like, I would text something and I'd erase it, and I text something and I would release it, because I was like, I really don't have capacity to really, like, address this right now, because my week was also, like, it was a lot going on. And so what I did, I was like, well, I hope you feel better. You can watch this show on Netflix and it's funny. And then I just didn't text her back. Like, I just don't have the capacity to get into it. So I think, while it's true that a lot of people probably don't show up, I don't think it's because lack of care. I really just think it's like, people be at their max. People be at their own capacity, dealing with their own thing. And sometimes it feels almost like, when you bring up your own stuff, when someone else is talking through their stuff, that maybe that might make them feel better somehow. Because you're like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but like, my life's shitty too. Like, maybe that might make you feel better, but it's not really helpful. Because you're right. Like, if in situations where that has happened to me, I'm like, well, this isn't about you. Why are we talking about your ex-husband? Like, how did we get here? So yeah, that is the one point that I'd say, is that I think it's not that people don't care. It's that people are at their capacity, and taking on other stuff sometimes just feels like, bro, I cannot take another thing right now.
So to your point, I don't necessarily register it always as like, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I register as people don't even know how they're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't even have the reference that how they showed up wasn't helpful or conducive to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It just like they did it and they moved on because of whatever reason, whether they have capacity. But I think to challenge that, like, I think in general, two things is like, I don't have the experience that people are good listeners. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were times where I was a horrible listener.
Yeah.
And as I learned and got better about what that means,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to practice it more or whatever. But I don't think people always practice what it means to really like listen to someone. Like even when you think about like, I don't want to make that point. Sorry. I'm gonna walk away from that. But and the other thing too is communication, right? So it's like if you communicate, like in theory, I would, if I went to somebody because I wanted to unload, like I would ask, do you have capacity for this right now?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a learned thing that's come, that's new.
Yeah.
That's not natural for me to know, but like it's, do you have capacity to like hold space for me in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Or if someone starts to express something and you don't have capacity, then to say and communicate clearly, I really do care and I love you and I want to circle back to this, but like, I don't have the capacity right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like, and just for our example, like I said, I wasn't thinking about that until you brought it up, but like, you kind of like, are you good? So like, to me, that signals, okay, you're ready to like have the conversation, you know? But
I think that feels like one of those things where it's like, you clearly weren't. Because the more you spend time with somebody, like I can tell when you're mad in a text. I can tell. And so I knew that you weren't, and I felt like it wasn't okay for me to be like, all right, well, see you Saturday and whatever, you know. I think I might have been hoping that you weren't going to respond the way that you did, perhaps.
So in the future, do not ask me.
And then
if you're not ready for it.
And then when you did, I was like, ooh, this is a little more than what I thought she was gonna be like. Yeah, I'm fine, and then be done. But I think to your point, it's communicating like, hey, like I really do care about what you're saying right now, but like I not right. I'll circle back. Is important to do. Because I think sometimes people avoid checking in on their, like, you know, people say, like, checking on your strong friends and da-da-da. I think sometimes people avoid checking in with people because they just don't know what to do, how to do it, and how to move in that. And that's not okay either. Like, you have to, like, if you see something, you need to at least say something, you know?
Yeah. And to that point, it was, like, two things, again, that you said is, like, how we deal with emotional discomfort, whether that's our own emotional discomfort. And that's what I've been in this entire week, has just felt very emotionally uncomfortable. And I think it's natural. I don't think it was anything crazy, but I think it's like I'm having to sit with emotions that aren't necessarily light or joyous or whatever. But also when it comes to dealing with other people as they are sitting in difficult emotions and like the discomfort that we often feel of like, well, I don't know what to do with that. Or like I had talked about before, you know, my friend's mom passing and just really being with her through this journey of grief and how much it's taught me. But like, I know a lot of people don't know necessarily how to interact when she brings up her mom or something like that, because it's like this uncomfortable space of like, well, I don't know what to do and I don't want to make it. So it's like, how do you manage like emotional discomfort? And also, like I told y'all before this week, I have had none of my normal coping mechanisms. I have not been smoking. I don't really drink, but I didn't really drink this week or whatever. But I had one glass of wine at your house that one night we was editing. Lord, sorry. Videographer in the background was like, what you mean? And I'm like,
I was just drunk with you last
night. I had one glass of red wine and we threw the bottle away. You still got that bottle? How big is the bottle? How full is it? It's pretty fucking full. Oh, you kept drinking. Oh, whoa. No, just wait. I was just wait. By the way, if you're someone who listens to the show and doesn't watch, you need to start watching because there's context you'll miss. But nonetheless, to me, because like smoking, I realized to the point of how I deal with discomfort or what is my coping mechanism when I'm dealing with emotional discomfort. I didn't realize that smoking was what it was for me in that way. Mm-hmm. To have to like raw dog life, raw dog these emotions.
You said that earlier and I was like, that is an aggressive term.
Look, I had to go at these things straight up.
It was like one of the first things you said. You were like, I had to raw dog. Y'all really be raw dog. That's what she said. She walked in and she goes, y'all really be raw dogging life like this? And I'm like, who raw? Are you okay?
Like, oh my gosh, this is horrible.
You
like
need some water?
I sit with myself a lot, but I didn't know what it was like to sit completely sober. Jesus.
Yeah.
Especially after having a conversation that led you into a depth of your emotions that you're like, oh, whoa, like
yeah.
But I was interested for you, like, when you're experiencing emotional discomfort, whether it's your own or interacting with other people who are going through tough times, like, how do you deal with emotional discomfort?
Yeah, not well. I'm not good at it. Don't like it. I don't think anyone likes it.
Don't recommend.
Wouldn't recommend. Just keep a smile on your face. Drink a lot of pre-workout. No.
Pre-workout. Lord Jesus.
People should be concerned.
Well, I am, literally.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard.
I'm just thinking of the fact that, like, she just said, like, she be drinking it like juice.
We'll get there.
Like, you had a cup of juice today, 2 cups of juice. It's like, bitch, you are not supposed to be having pre-workout as a drink.
It's not Crystal Light, babe. It tastes really good. But, what I love about this podcast is we are very transparent with where we are in that moment.
It is.
And that's just where I am today. But yeah,
workout cranky.
Literally. Yeah, no, for me, like, it's really hard to sit with messy feelings because I'm just generally like kind of a more jovial of a personality. And actually there has been some messy feelings that I've had to, I didn't deal with them. I just put them away. That I need to at some point deal with. And I think for me, and we talked about this on the podcast, but for me, I think a lot of it is fear-based because I think sometimes you fear that if you go there, you won't get out. You know, like if you really start to parse through that, either one, you won't find your way out, or you'll find that it's actually a lot messier than you thought. Ooh. I've been doing a lot of like decluttering in my apartment, just kind of taking areas to declutter, and one of the areas that I was decluttering was like my junk drawer, because I was like, what the hell is in here?
Why do we always have one of those?
I don't know. And my junk
Never
drawer
fails.
became my junk drawer became like my junk like centerpiece, and then it was like my junk coffee table, and then it was my junk, and then I'm looking around and I'm like, there's just stuff everywhere. Like, how did this happen?
What a beautiful analogy for you talking about, like, compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
Like, you literally have little sections of
just
junk
like
throughout your
stuff throughout my house. And so
weird.
I went to go in and, like, you know, clean out one of the drawers, and then I noticed, like, okay, because I thought at first, oh, this is just my tool junk.
Yeah.
And this is my, like, kitchen junk. And this is my whatever junk. And as I was cleaning it, I was like, oh, there's, like, all kinds of stuff in here. And not only do I have to, like, clean out everything in this drawer, but now I have to find homes for all this stuff that I didn't even know was in here. And then there's some stuff that I have to throw away. And now there's also some stuff that I'm like, I don't even know where the other part of this is. And I got to go find the other part. And so what started out as, oh, I'm just going to clear this drawer so that I have space, it now has become this whole big old thing. And that, I think, is a really good analogy as to, like, how I handle hard things, messy feelings, is, like, sometimes I avoid it because I don't know how deep it is. And I also don't know if I have the time to spend doing that. That's exactly why this week I answered, like, an out-of-office message, because, like, I have not yet, I literally haven't had the time to, like, sit down and be like, ooh, that was weird, and that was weird, and that was weird, and he said that, and I don't know what that means. And, like, I ain't got the time. So, what I do instead, to answer your question, is not so great coping habits, like, you know, putting on masks, over caffeinating in this instance, overindulging, smoking, you know, which is something that I've been really challenging in my life a lot lately, drinking in excess, going out, over socializing, spending time with friends, so that you don't have to deal with the stuff. And that's not good.
Girl, you said all kind of words up in there.
Not good.
Yeah, I feel as though in the moments of like having to go, like even this week I was just like, ooh, this has been a very fucking emotional week. And it was weird to me because I'm not anywhere near my cycle. So like to be that emotional and not be anywhere near my cycle or on it, I was like, God damn, like what is going on?
What's gonna happen when
right?
the fist come?
Also, low-key, I had pulled a card the week before, and I was like, what that? I'm like, no, I don't like what that is. And I'm like, life is going pretty good. And then this week happened, and I was like, whoop, there it was.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like at this point I am nervous to like go in deep. I do 100% believe, though, to your point, that we do not always have the capacity to do so. No. Like there are times where I'm like, I know that that's about to be a long journey and inside, and there is way too much going on in life right now for me to ever touch that right now. I need to know, I need to put it there. I need to have the courage to circle back to it. But right now it would make things too heavy that I wouldn't be able to do normal functioning.
Transparently, that's why I stopped going to therapy, because we got to a point in therapy where I was like, what? I was in there like, and then I said something, I was like, whoa, we're too far now. And then it was funny, and then that session was actually a really hard session, and then I had a work dinner right after it, and so I was like trying to pull myself together, went to work, and then like the next day I immediately like canceled all therapy sessions because I was like, damn, I can't do that. So it's hard, but I think, like we talked about in the last episode, like knowing where your end goal is and like why you did it. Why did I start cleaning out the junk drawer? Because like I knew that was junk and I needed to get rid of it. Also, probably a fire hazard.
What is in this drawer?
I needed to get rid of some of that stuff. So I think remembering your why, even through the sticky stuff, is probably impactful. But I have not been back, so I don't know.
When you're ready, you'll go. You know, life will. Okay.
But go to therapy, guys. Talk space.
This is a weird podcast to hate on therapy on, but like,
everybody else should go to therapy.
No.
Not for me though.
I'm gonna go back, bitch. I also, like, to your point before about like the comment about like check on your strong friends. I think too we have to understand like why are our strong friends considered strong, and are they? You know,
no,
like
they're not.
First of all, I am. Bitch, I'm a strong ass bitch. No.
We'll get there.
But I do think that I am someone who's like a very soft inside and a very hard outside. And I think that to a certain extent, like that hard outside is from feeling like there really wasn't like I'm going to always have to take care of myself. So like I better fucking believe in myself and I better be confident in all this shit because I'm going to have to do this shit on my own. Like that's how, unfortunately, like that's how my brain processes it. And I can remember, I literally have like clear childhood memories of expressing like this hurt my feelings or something to my family or my parents and like being roasted or made fun of or roasted, like
roasting a baby.
Oh yeah. And this is not to hate on my family. I love them. We all just do what as best we can at all times. But like being able to express like I don't like how this makes me feel, and then being like, okay, you know, whatever, and kind of wiping it off, and then going to my mom, and she was like, why are you crying? And I was like, you know, whatever, like, you know, they didn't make me feel good. And I was referring to like my dad and my siblings, and she was like, girl, like, you know, and just brushing. And so you learn over and over again that like your emotions don't matter. And I see the duality in which that brings now in my life, because some of the reasons I'm so driven and I'm like, I can see a goal, I can see the vision, and I'm about to execute it and I don't give a fuck, is because I have learned to completely suppress how I feel so that I can get this thing done. Because I've also grown up in a home that was very competitive, like, not for like attention, but competitive in the sense like my dad was, the black tax was talked about immediately. My dad was someone who is someone who's very like, you know, second place is just the first loser. Like, that's the mentality that I've been like, right? That is, it doesn't sound, what'd you say?
That's why you run into death.
Right? Run into death.
Literally, that's why you throw up and keep running.
Right? That's that. I just read the Will Smith book, and I just finished reading it back in December, and I was like, oh my God, this is triggering. Like, and it's like, I think that in a lot of those ways, it did make me strong in the sense of like, I am able to like set a goal and I can fucking accomplish it and nothing's gonna stop me. But the amount in which I have to like sometimes completely deter my feelings to get to the goal is something that I don't necessarily think is the best.
Yeah, and I going back to like me challenging this idea of strong friends, because I do think that you are strong. So I'm not trying to say Brittany's not strong. But I don't like this whole categorization. There we go. You guys should spell that out on the screen.
Slowly,
phonetically. But I don't like this whole like, if you don't show your feelings, then you're strong, and if you do show your feelings, then you're weak. Because in my life, showing my feelings is really hard. Like really, really hard. And just because I don't show my feelings, I don't think that makes me strong. I think honestly, I don't want to say that I'm weak, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree with you.
Like, I don't think that necessarily makes you strong. I will say though that like, being able to compartmentalize is important. I don't think that you need to always be like this bleeding thing, everything the wind blows and now you're like, I do think that there is some, you know, you have to kind of live your life, you know. But it's okay to like, something hurts and you have to say it, you know. It's okay. And if you are the strong friend who's running around not saying anything, why is that? Why is that? I mean, because if I have all these people around me that love and care about me, but there's nobody that I confide in, what is that saying about me?
Ooh, come on.
You know, that that's something that I think I have to think about. Like, maybe is it a trust thing? Is it a control thing? Is it a fear thing? There's something else there. Why is it that when therapy gets hard, I'm like, all right, this was really fun. So great. I'm not going to do this anymore though. Yeah. Like, that's probably like a me thing. So while you should check on your friends blankly, like, strong friends talk, you know, speak, you know, if something's going on, find somebody that you can share that have that safe space with. And if you don't, therapy is wonderful, I guess.
It is. I guess. It is. And so the reason I fought you initially when you made that statement is because I was like, I am. But like, but my thing is, I agree that I've completely restructured what I believe strong to be. So like, I literally have a podcast to go talk about feelings all the fucking time. And it was because like, so much of where I started was like, man, there's a lot of shit we don't be talking about. And we all going through it. And it would probably be helpful if people felt not isolated, you know? Because I feel like when you go through difficult shit, it feels so isolating because you like, nobody understands it and nobody gets it and and then like, even when I went home and feeling like, is everybody else having this experience with their parents where they're like, or not even just their parents, but their family of like, sometimes this shit is triggering. Like, damn.
This is not all this Christmas.
Like, oh my God. And then I felt like, damn, like, what? And then I got home and I was like talking to y'all and I was like, oh, this is everybody. Whew, okay. Whew. Thank God. And it doesn't mean that there isn't work to be done, but there is an alleviation that happens when I know that like, I'm not crazy or I'm not the only one or all of that. But I do think that like, it was interesting to me to go home, to talk to people I haven't talked to in a long time. And a lot of those people are interacting with me through social media. So like they see my life through social media. And so many are like, oh my God, like you're so confident. You're living your best life. And and I'm like thinking to myself, am I? Like,
this the best.
I'm just like, I'm just up every day just trying to make it, niggas. But also it made me stop and go, wait, Britt, like, are you avoiding dealing with all of your shit by just overworking? Because in my mind, I'm like, it is just one foot in front of the other trying to build some things. But I'm like thinking, is my output this high because there's shit that I'm avoiding?
Mm-hmm.
Or like if I felt more in tune with if I was more in tune with my emotions or doing more or whatever that was, like, would I still believe like, bitch, I got shit to build. So like you said, I'm not about to sit here and bleed out all fucking day. Like there's places to be and things to get to. But if I sat there and list everything I've accomplished, you know, since I have been gone till here, it's a lot. And I'm like, is that healthy? Like, it is what it is at the end of the day. But I'm like, should I have done this much stuff? Like, am I avoiding some things? Because this output is, to me, how they viewed me didn't match how I felt. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what is that disconnect? Mm-hmm. And to given there's a reality of we're always harder on ourselves than like how everyone else perceives us. But like, I
mean, I think also it's like, it's your junk drawer to clean out. I mean, I don't necessarily, this might be a challenge, this statement, but, I don't necessarily think you always need to go around like clearing all of this stuff out of your life. Like I do think that some adversity is actually really, really important as gasoline in the car of getting you forward. Like some stuff, like we think about like people's lives and like some successful people, and you see the life that they've gone through. No daddy, mama, they was left at the fire station, and then like all of these like crazy things, and then they like overcame. But like a lot of that was the reason why they got to where they were. And I don't think the whole time they were like sorting out their daddy issues and their mama issues and all that stuff. Like they were just kind of using it as propellant. So while I think that there is merit to working some things out, I don't know if it's necessary to work it all out right now.
I don't disagree with you.
I mean, but we're in this culture that is real, and I love that. I want to say, like, I'm joking about the therapy thing, not that I'm not in it, but that it is important. I'm joking, and I think therapy is really, really important. But I think now we're in this culture that's like therapy, work out your shit, work.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes. But if you're spending your whole day cleaning out your junk drawer, what about the rest of your apartment?
Come on.
What about everything else you have to do? And so some stuff in my life where I'm like, probably should get to that. But also, like, I wouldn't be here in Dallas doing what I've done at the age that I am with all of this thing if I was spending all day long, like, thinking about my problems. Because just like you know, people come to me and they're all like, they say all the time in my Instagram, or they message me privately like, oh my gosh, you moved to another state, and oh my god, how did you do it, and da da da. And honestly, I just packed up my car and left. Like, I'm like, that's literally what I did. Yeah, like I probably should have thought about the fact that I don't have I have one now, but I didn't have a support system here, and I didn't have a job here. Like, yeah, I probably should have thought about that, but like I didn't. I just put my stuff in my car and left. But that's the compartmentalization of myself that's like, we'll get there. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, because if I wasn't like that, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. Like, I wouldn't be doing any of this, you know?
That's real. I didn't really think about, like, the way in which, like, experiences and pain are sometimes extremely motivating. Like, and when you say, like, they're fuel. And I'm not a very, like, my haters is the reason why I got here. Like, my haters is my motivation. Like, I'm like, first of all, who are these haters? Where are they at? Like, y'all, and why are y'all haters? Like, what? Like, I don't know. If I have haters, I don't know who y'all are. And also stay there, because I don't really need to know who you are. But I do get that, like, I didn't really consider sometimes that, like, whatever things happen in life, they do sometimes propel you to a new space, or not, and not even necessarily just what happens. It's like how you react to what happens, the choices you make post your trauma have the potential to propel you to wherever you need to go. Like, I 100% believe that if I didn't have some of the experiences that I had leading up to moving, I would have never thought to move. I would have never, like, done it. I would have never got up and did what I think is going to and has been really serving me. But again, I didn't have to make that choice. Yeah. I could have continued to stay and try to
work it out where you were,
figure it out and figure out the pot there or whatever. But, like, there were just so many factors where I just felt like I was fucking suffocating that I was like, I need to go. Like, but it was like, what choice are you going to make? And I think that that's a really valid point that you bring up. It's like, there's a lot to say about how you process, but, like, what choices you make as you're processing and how you allow those things to determine who you are. Because I think that kind of speaks to when psychologists look at how twins can grow up in the same home, have the same environment, have all of these things, and turn out with polar lives. Okay. And it's like, what decision are you going to make with what you have?
And even when we think about, like, growing up in our childhood and how, like, maybe we didn't come from, like, you know, very emotionally supporting environments. Like, if you think about who our parents are and the generation before them and the generation before them, the slaves were not sitting at, like, after they was picking. I mean, our parents aren't that old.
You jumped immediately to slave.
I'm just saying, like, if we just, like, let's go back in our ancestral tree.
It is what it is.
If we go back in the Wayback Machine and we go to the slaves, we're at Will Smith's slave movie that he just put out.
Oh, I was like, what? I got you.
Yes, but anyway, we're back at slavery. Like, they weren't thinking about, like, this is really hard and let's talk about how we feel about like, sometimes in order to get out of a situation, you just gotta have to push out of it. And I think our Black culture is unfortunately really steeped in that of, like, yeah, like, being Black in America is very hard, but if we sit around all day long and think about how hard it is, we're not ever going to make progress, which is why I vow not to watch Will Smith's slave movie, because I'm not watching another slave movie, because I don't need to keep hearing about how we were slaves. But that's a whole other thing.
I agree with you, and yes, it is a whole other thing.
Yeah, but it's like, sometimes we can't get too stuck in that, because we have to keep progressing forward. And I think our parents' generation, probably think about civil rights and then whatever, like, they couldn't spend too much time creating this mushy thing, because they had to raise kids that were able to go out into a world that they knew was really hard. And honestly, the world didn't care what you felt.
Absolutely accurate. So, like, even when I was trying to get away from the disclaimer of, like, but, you know, this is what I think about my parents. But, like, 100% to what you're saying is, like, even when I think about my grandparents, I go, well, it makes complete sense why my parents didn't have the capacity for this thing. Because, like, I see. Or, like, what their lives were like. And I think also, too, it's like, even when I think about Black men specifically, or, like, my dad, I'm like, if you...
I didn't mean to respond. They need help.
But I think about this is, like, if you are a Black man, especially in a time... If we think about, like, our grandparents and stuff, where women may not have been able to work or make as much money or all those things, like, there wasn't an ability to have a partnership financially. It was like you had to be the provider or whatever that is. Probably past our grandparents, because when I think about it, not both, but a lot of my grandparents were single women. But nonetheless, it's like our system lends towards a certain type of patriarchy and misogyny to be successful. Yeah. So, like, if you're a man living here and you want to provide, and especially if you're any level of entrepreneurial, I get why you are steeped in this patriarchal, white supremacist, misogynist space, because that's what has been taught to you that'll allow you to gain money to then be able to provide for your family, and why that could then look and feel like that's the only thing, and fuck these feelings, because over here they don't give a fuck about your feelings. In corporate America, they could care less about how you feel. And if I'm a man and I feel like I have to provide, I'm going to have to redouble down on this fact that I can't give a fuck about feelings because I have to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And I get why. I don't agree with it, and I love that it's changing.
Yeah.
But I can understand absolutely why it is what it is.
And everything I said about like not feeling your feelings and not talking about your feelings, and sometimes you need to keep pushing, does not apply to black men. They need to talk about y'all feelings. Talk space. Y'all need to go see about it. And I don't mean that in a judgy way, but
sponsored ad.
I don't mean that in a judgy way, but exactly to your point, like, generation after generation after generation of having to push down, and not push down like, oh, she doesn't like me, but like push down like societal, like big, huge concepts and weight that black men have to take on. I understand why, you know, they're not able to be emotionally available in relationships, and all of the things that black men go through. I understand why that is, because like y'all really had to push a lot of stuff down. Now, though, however, I think it is time, especially in this era, to start unpacking some of that.
Yeah. And that leads me to my last point, which I think, thank you, beautifully transitioned into this, is that all this to say, to circle back to the start, it was a black man that held space for me. Like, that's so
way to
lit.
go. Good job.
It's how you said it. That sounded so ridiculous. Like, good job. One black man did it. That's how it sounded. I hope you didn't mean it. I don't know. I can't trust you. You say you did?
I didn't.
Oh, I thought you said I did. I was like, double down then, bitch. No, I like, it was so fantastic to me to, even as processing all this, it was like, wow, like it was a black man who held the emotional space for me that I needed to feel like I was heard and listened to, and how dope that is. And like, I think more and more, I was talking to one of my friends about this, was like, there are more black men in my life now, as I've been like, you know, shifting things around and people around, that I could list, like B, Lex, Emmanuel, like, where I'm like, they are men that I think in the society of men would be considered, you know, like a little more sensitive. And it's not that they are all successful. They are all of these things, but like how they move through life emotionally by some very toxic men would probably be seen as a little more sensitive in the male community. And
I love that you brought this point up.
I just like encourage, because they're also, let me balance that out. They are phenomenal men. They are absolutely successful in both their life and their relationships. And on top of that, let me not pretend all these niggas would fuck you up if they had to. You know what I'm saying? But it's just how, and the fact they even have to say that caveat, right?
And
So to me, I just think that it's so important that as men who are looking to other men about what it means to be what I look at as like a king, to me, a king isn't how much land did you take? How did you take that land? How fucking brutally did you do it? To me, a king is like, did you protect your borders? Yes. But past that, how much peace did you have? How much thriving did you have? How much collaboration did you have within that space? Like, how did the people in your kingdom feel? Like, what were they? How did they want to be there? Like, loved in kings, like it's peace. And then, but I feel like there's such an idolization of, for example, like Napoleon, because he conquered so much. Yeah, but we also know that we call it a Napoleon complex because you were a fucking sociopath that scorched fucking earth to get there. Yeah. So like, I think that what I'm noticing is men that are tapped in a little bit more emotionally and have a lot more empathy and were probably seen by their peers as sensitive. Those are actually the niggas that now I'm getting older. I'm like, oh, those are actually the kings. Like a lot of these other niggas is wolves, but that is a king.
Yeah. And I think as women, we're talking about Black men specifically, but as Black women, we have to learn how to create space for that.
Come on.
Because and that's hard to do. When you, as a woman, have been raised to view a man a certain way, and now this man that isn't supposed to cry, isn't supposed to have feelings, isn't supposed to whatever, is now like telling you that something you did hurt his feelings, or now telling you that, you know, the way that you talked to him he didn't like. Mm-hmm. It's like, so your initial reaction is to want to be like, man, toughen up, da 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 da. And we have to be, as women, Black women specifically, we have to be very, very careful about that, because that approaching vulnerability in that way could create someone that can never be vulnerable again. I honestly don't think we understand how traumatic that can actually be for a man who has never shown any emotion at all to then feel safe with you, and then come to realize that that space isn't actually safe. So as women, I think we also have to relearn what it means to hold space for men when they want to be vulnerable, and not think of them any less than because they are vulnerable, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Like, to me, you can't have community without vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And I want you to be someone that is building community, that's part of community. I want tribe to be important to you. Like, and there's a certain level of like emotional intelligence. There's a certain level of empathy. There's a certain level of like, I don't know, just I'm not with the fuck your feelings. I'm not with that at all. Like, I actually don't think, but I also have to be honest of that's now with my growth and me getting better. And because absolutely there are men that I feel like I have disrespected because they were more vulnerable, or they were seen as more sensitive in some way, that I kind of played them like, okay, but like, you know, and talk crazy to and all this other shit. Because I also think it's very, and I'm gonna just say it, y'all not gonna like it, but I think that there is a way in which as Black women we have to acknowledge, like, we be having an attitude sometimes.
Yeah.
and the shit that comes out of our fucking mouth is so disrespectful sometimes, or traumatizing, or emasculating is probably the word I want to go for.
Yeah.
It's so emasculating, and it's like, why did I do that? Like,
it wasn't necessary.
It wasn't necessary. And like, what am I trying to get from this? Because me emasculating you is just like pushing the trauma button.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in the same way, I don't want you, I don't know what the equivalent of emasculation is for a woman. For me, I look at it as dehumanizing. I don't like when men dehumanize me. I don't like when men like do not see me as like, you're a person before the rest of the shit that comes on your body. You got the boobies and the vagina and all this other stuff. You are a human being.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level of respect in which I should interact with you. And then the real niggas on top of that go, and you're a woman, so I should hold you at a different regard on top of that. That's higher. Because I do like Vince Staples said. Vince Staples is crazy. But Vince Staples said, he was like, I think they were like, well, do you think you're better? And he was like, no, she has a vagina. Why would I ever think I was better than her? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a man that will respect you as like, you are literally a creator of life. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would I, you know? But I think that we as women also have to own our shit. Like, we have to own our shit. If we want this thing to work, if we want these partnerships, we want unity to happen, if we want culture to change, all of that, we all have to own our part, and we all have to do it.
We talked about this in the post show that you guys will see, but I'm going to jump back to it real quick. But like, a relationship is a lot more than I'm here, you're here, we're not cheating, you pay the bills, I have the babies, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's so much more than that. And when and especially for Black men and Black women relationships, because we're both coming into the relationship with a lot of built-in trauma, just because you was born Black and I was born Black, and so now we have trauma. And so we have to approach each other in a different way, a much more sensitive way, giving a lot more grace because of what we both know that we came from. And so as women, I love that you said that too. As women, we have to be very, very, very careful with men. And as men, also understand that it's hard for us as women to know how to hold space for something that we're just not familiar with doing it. You know, I had a conversation with someone, and he was telling me about a dynamic that he was having with his whatever. And he was like, well, I did it like this because this, and that's just how I feel. And I was like, oh yeah, it's totally fine that you felt that way. And actually it's really awesome that you could communicate that that's how you felt, but like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes men, because they can communicate how they feel, they can put words to it, they think that it's enough that they just communicated it, and they're not willing to like take the next step of like, okay, but now I need to change it. And so as men, I think also there is a great job in communicating and being vulnerable, but then also don't forget to take that other step of like, just because I feel this way doesn't mean that the way that I feel is okay, you know?
And I think it's important for everybody to communicate their boundaries and communicate it respectfully. So like, with all this being said, there's still going to be times where as a woman, you feel like you've given a man 8 million chances or 8 million opportunities or whatever it is to like, you've given them so much rope because you feel like you have an understanding of what their trauma is and all this other stuff. But it doesn't take away from the fact that like at some point you have to be able to communicate. I get all of the trauma you ever been through. I get it, but this is my boundary. And I can't do that.
Yeah.
And if you can't rise to it, that's fine. I don't have to emasculate you. I don't got to call you a bitch ass nigga.
Yeah.
I don't got to do all of that. I just have to tell you that for me in my space, this is the boundary, and you can't meet it, and that's okay. But we need to separate. We need to walk away from each other.
Exactly.
But like, and also that's a lot easier to say calmly on a podcast with two. You know what I'm saying?
And that's creating safe space on both sides.
Yeah.
That's not just one person holding a safe space for you, and that is a mutual safe space. That is what that is. It's like, yeah, you going through stuff, but like I can't keep being the punching bag. You can't keep bleeding on me because you're going through that. Because I am a human too, going through things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did that.
We did it.
That was good. Pre and post.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Baby held it down.
Boom.
Hey.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, so this has been another episode of the Occasionally Accountable Podcast.
It has.
Oh, dang it, I said 25. It is not 25. I'm going to stop saying what number
I told you not to say it. You wanted to say it so bad.
You did. See, I didn't listen to you. I emasculated you.
This has been another You'll See What Number episode of the Occasionally Accountable Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe. We're on all the social medias, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So find us
on Twitter because I don't need another one.
I don't even think about, now that I know that Twitter is Pornhub basically, I don't even think about Twitter as a social media platform. Like I literally be forgetting about Twitter.
It's not just porn. I've actually never seen Twitter porn, but I've heard about it. It's never crossed my eyes. But I've heard
I don't have it on my algorithm, but like I've heard that it's really
what a way to end this
down
episode. Also, to our guy friends that heard this, we'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, but also share this with other guy friends.
Yeah.
Because, why not?
I would actually really love feedback on this episode because I think this is a difficult topic. I think we, as humans, we all go through stuff. So, like, you know, how do you deal with it? Is it coping with weed? What's your favorite strain? Is it like are you in therapy? Like
OG Kush? Is that what you do?
Whatever it is that you do, like share it because there's not a wrong answer. I mean, if you are beyond your limit, you be honest with that. But like, yeah, share what it is that you do.
Nah, baby, I use the purple haze. All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
Let's do this. All right, our post show. We're just gonna be honest. This is the third time we've had to do this shot. Okay, so how you respect a man? That was the question. So, does your level of interaction, respect, or value, or how you interact with a man is in a relationship, is it different if he enters the relationship being very financially successful or more financially successful, basically able to take care of you if need be? You could be a kept woman or not, but able to take care of you need be, versus someone who either made less than you or the same amount, and you would have to like build with them together or whatever. Does how you see them value them, respect them, or even how you feel as if you could or can't interact with them, does that differ based on what their financial situation is when they enter the relationship with you.
Yes. Okay. So for me, I think yes, it would.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think so, I typically, the way that I think about finances in a relationship is that I really do want to build with a partner. While I do appreciate like a traditional relationship around like, you know, the woman does this and the man does that, I still do like feeling like an equal partner in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I just for some reason don't think we're equal partners if financially, and I know there's so many different dynamics that go into being a relationship outside of finances, but finances are so important.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much like that is such a tool like in life
mm-hmm.
that it's hard to view myself equally if there's one person that is contributing fully in the finance department. So I would love to be in a relationship where the man is contributing to my life fully financially and also I get to have a say.
Mm.
But at the same time, I do kind of understand the dynamic where, like, if he's paying for everything in your life, like, this shouldn't be this way. But, like, I could see why he would feel like he has more control in the relationship.
Ah, okay. So you would prefer, are you saying you prefer that he doesn't have full financial control?
I would personally prefer that.
Okay. So what if it's a situation where you both make a lot of money,
mm-hmm.
but he just makes enough that if something happened, he could take care of everything?
I think I would feel more equal in that sense.
You still would feel like you had
because you know, like I've been in I don't make a whole lot of money, so like I've been in relationships where people make more than me, but not to the point of like providing for me fully.
Okay.
And in those situations, I feel like it's still very balanced. I just like have never been in a situation where they're like, I can do everything, and I think that would be imbalance for me.
Do you feel like you would respect him any more or less based on how much money he came into the relationship with? In terms of like how you speak to him, how you treat him, do you feel like how you look at him as a man,
mm-hmm.
and does money affect that?
I think, unfortunately, it would.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, to be in a relationship with somebody, finances for me have to be at a certain criteria. It doesn't have to be like, you know, whatever, but like we have to at least be on the same. We have to be at least the same, similar or same level. Because for me, like I said, because finances is such a huge tool, not having that is not okay to me. There are so many other things in a relationship, though, that are really important. So, like, I'm saying that, and I'm like, I really should sort of challenge this. But, like, if you broke, I don't think I could do it.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, the reality is, I think there is how things should be and how things are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The reason I thought about this is because we had a conversation many episodes ago that I don't actually think made it to an episode, and it was from the context of like, if a man is telling you that like they are not, you've been in a relationship with a man and they're telling you they're not ready to, you know, fully commit or whatever the next level is, whatever,
mm-hmm.
because they're still building whatever they're building
mm-hmm.
financially, and you kind of were like, that's a cop out, or it's an excuse or something of that nature.
Oh, yeah,
and I think a lot of women feel that way. I don't want to use it as like you said, but it's like literally, I think that is a thought process. But I was thinking to myself, like, is it, but how you treat him and respect him, does it make a difference? You know, like if y'all are about to enter
mm-hmm.
deep commitment or marriage or whatever, like if he was like, hold off until I have this amount of money, and then they reached it and they're like, okay, bet, because now I know I can take care of our family if we have a family we need to.
Yeah.
Versus if you like push them to be like, well, I don't really care about none of that. Like, and then you enter you enter whatever, and they don't have, like, if something ever happened, it's going to be on both of y'all to make sure some shit shake.
And to be honest, I don't mind that. I really do like feeling like we're in it together.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, like, it's easier for somebody to be like, you know, to lean back on somebody. There are certain things that, like, I don't want to do, like my car. And, like, there's certain things in my life that, like, I would love to just give to my partner and not even worry about it.
Yeah.
But, like, the big stuff, you know how I am with control. We talk about it almost every episode at this point. I could not let somebody perceive the perception of control. I could not let somebody have that kind of control.
Interesting.
I really couldn't. It'd be fun for a week or two, and then I'd be like, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because even if I was with like a really rich guy, like you know, I can quit my job rich, I would still want like an allowance. I would still want money that I don't have to ask about.
Yeah.
I would need that sort of freedom. I don't want to have to ask every time I want to spend something.
Okay. And I wasn't really thinking of it from like he has to take care of everything, but it's more so like, is there a level of respect that you have? Because I feel like women say that, but then let some shit go awry, we quick to call a nigga a broke ass nigga. And, you know what I'm saying?
And I think in this new phase, chapter 2 of Briana, and I'm learning this in this relationship actually, is like respect is just something that kind of has to be. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy that I'm saying that out loud, but like I did not, I did not like, that wasn't a foundational thought for me. Like, that wasn't like, cause you get mad and you think, oh, you can say whatever you want to say. You can, whatever. And you really can't. I mean, you can, but you really can't. So I think if you want to be in a healthy relationship, respect just has to be, whether they broke. And it's actually, I like this question actually, because the money is so like transient. Like sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't, especially in this economy with eggs $10. Y'all know how I feel about these egg prices. You can imagine how I feel about these egg prices right now. I was tripping when they were $2. But I digress. The way that life happens, like sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't. A lot of us are not dating people that are wealthy.
That's real.
So it's like whether you have money, don't have money, there has to be just a mutual respect. And I think that is something that a lot of people, I think, need to learn, is that respect is just baseline. That's one of the foundations. So I would say, to answer your question, no, there are certain financial situations that I would not willingly get myself into. There's things I can grow through. Yeah. There's phases and chapters, whatever, but there is financial situation where I'm not finna sign up for that. Personally.
That's real.
Personally.
Interesting.
I'm curious. What do you think about that?
I think that I agree with you that at the end of the day, respect is going to come, for me, off of your character. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I've done a city girl situation before, and I've fucked with broke niggas. I've done the spectrum. And to be honest with you, in the situation where this person was in a very different tax bracket than me, it didn't necessarily make me respect them more, which might have had to do something with the fact that I was dating outside of my race. If I actually am honest and think about like the psychology of what I was doing, like, which is another question I wanted to ask, but I guess I should finish before we get there. Yeah. But it didn't make me respect you more because I still felt like you were buying me. Like you were attempting to buy my love. But to me, I think I'm at a space now where it's like you need to at least have financial literacy. Oh, yeah. And you need to at least be like around where I'm at. Yeah. If not more. Yeah. You know? And because at this age, I'm like, because like you said, I do agree that you can be in a relationship and money can do what the economy does, right? And we may not always be in a situation where you're the breadwinner. And to me, I also feel very differently if we were in a situation and we both came in either at the same level or you were fully taking care of me to some extent and I was still working or whatever, but you just made so much more, whatever the case was. And at some point you chose to switch careers or you tried to do something else. Went to school. Yeah. And I had to hold the weight. I would absolutely hold my nigga down happily because you have been doing this thing for me for so long. So I get that. But I do feel like I do feel like as a whole in society, women have a different kind. They feel like they can approach men differently based on what in a relationship, based on what that man's finances are.
Yeah.
And I do think that even to like the point we were having before about like whether or not it, you know, it makes sense to want to wait or whatever around someone's finances. I think I just empathize for a man and understanding that like the societal pressures of what it means to be a man, whether or not we agree with it, whether it's right or wrong or what it should or shouldn't be, the societal pressures of what that is. And if you think being a man is a provider and a protector, take out all the abusive patriarchal shit. But if you literally just feel as a nature of a man, I want to be able to protect my family and I want to be able to provide for my family. I do understand that like if you're not in a space to do that financially, you not necessarily wanting to like enter a certain level of commitment with somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I completely understand that. And I don't look at it as an excuse. I think as a woman, we don't have this, we have different societal pressures. And there are certain things as women we may not be willing to enter a relationship with because of what our pressures are.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to like take ourselves out of what we want in that moment and go, what is this like from your end? Because for you, this probably feels different. And I have to respect that.
Yeah. But I will say, like, so I'm thinking about that conversation again, and it's like, okay, being married, like choosing to wait to be married because you're not financially stable, I still just don't buy it.
Really?
Because
I love that we disagree.
Yes, because I feel like you have to, like, again, like finances come and go. So if you're like, I'm going to marry you when I get to 50K, like, what if something happens to your car? What if there's a health event? What if whatever? Like, marriage for me is, while finances is important, it's much bigger than that. So, like, I feel like if we've already proven that we can be committed to each other in a relationship, what's the, if other than you want a nice wedding, like, what are we waiting for?
But what, I kind of get
maybe.
it. I just get it because I'm like, if we come together and the intention is to have a family at some point, that is a huge financial expense, right? And I feel like I understand from a man's perspective that like if I don't think I have the finances to take care of a family, that I don't have the business trying to like, or even if I'm not in the financial position to help maintain your lifestyle, whatever that is, whether you're minimalist or not, you know, from a minimalist all the way to the bougiest of bitches, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't have that leverage, I think that there's a certain level of in myself, even if you don't walk around calling me a broke ass nigga, you know what I'm saying? When we get into it, I feel like for myself, there would be a certain level of like insecurity that I would have because I view masculinity as this thing and I am not able to provide this thing.
Which is a valid feeling, but we have to go past that valid feeling into like what is reality. And if the only thing that is preventing us from moving to the next step in the relationship is a perceived insecurity, that is a problem. In my mind, that's a problem.
You think so?
Yes, and it's a problem that's not resolved by getting more money because, like I said, money is transient. So does that mean, like, you get to 50K and then something happens and now you're broke, now you're insecure again, then we got to get a divorce? Like, it's like...
I don't think it means that. But go ahead.
But, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I totally get that, but I think that that's something that needs to be addressed internally, and it's not like going to do DoorDash till you make it, like, or go get another job or a promotion or whatever. Like, it's what is that thing that you have to challenge in yourself, because being a man, protecting and providing means a lot more than finances, like spiritually, emotionally, whatever. Like, you could be able to provide for me financially, but you can't talk to me, you don't listen to me, you don't pray for, like, there's a lot that you're missing, and you're so worried about getting to this X amount, whatever you think that is, and then we're missing like 50 other parts of this equation. So I don't know, but I do see like saving also, toward a wedding or saving like that sort of thing, but not like, and that's I won't include details because I think that was like something I think the details we didn't need to include, but in a scenario where like somebody is thinking about staying together or not, I don't think that staying together or not should be predicated on your financial ability.
I get you, and I get it, but I also maybe we would have to delve into the idea of like what marriage means for both of us.
Fair. That's actually a great episode.
Because like it may for you be a lot of things that are emotionally based, and for him, I know a lot of men who look at marriage as like they can be fully committed to a partner and not ever get married, but the second the marriage portion comes in, there is a sense of like obligation in building. Like there's not that it becomes a business, but in a way,
but there are some women who look at marriage as a business.
I'm one that's not far from that.
Yeah,
because I'm also someone that's like, I don't really give a fuck about getting married again. Like, yeah. But I do want a committed partnership at some point. The actual marriage, I don't really give a fuck for.
Yeah,
but I know that's not every woman.
It's not every woman, and that's a really good point. Like there are some women who are like, I can do better by myself. I'm with you, so we can get this tax bracket, so we get these tax breaks, so with our health insurance. Like, and if you are that type of woman, then 100%, like the man's gonna have to come with some things in order for the equation to make sense, or else just stay in being boyfriend and girlfriend and having fun. Like, for me though, it's a bit bigger than that.
That low key is a boyfriend girlfriend having fun. That don't mean shit. I mean, that downplays the fact that you could do a committed relationship without marriage.
What's the difference between boyfriend and girlfriend and then committed partnership? Isn't that the same thing?
But a committed partnership to me isn't marriage. I think those are two separate things.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but you could just stay in your committed partnership. Like, when you take the step to be married, some people view that as a business step, like you were saying.
Yes.
And I think if you are a woman that thinks that way, then yeah, you need a man who also thinks that way. Because, like, what's all this? You crying with me, laughing with me, reading me scriptures and whatever, and you ain't got no money. Like, again, I can do this by myself. Like, if that's the case. Like, I do see that perspective. I get it. But for me, that is a great point. But for me, it's different. It's a little more than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that, I don't know. To me, I just sometimes feel like if we don't feel prepared, to make the decision, why are we making it?
If both parties don't feel prepared to make the decision, don't make it.
Yeah.
Because then that's when you cheating on your fiance at the bachelor party. That's when you running out. Yeah. I feel like if you're not ready to make the decision, don't make it.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, like, however y'all have to come to that. Yeah, I would 100% agree. And it's a big decision to make, like, because, again, like, that's the person you finna be with. Through thick and thin, eggs $2, eggs $19. This is your person. Coronavirus, you stuck in the house with them. Zombies come back, y'all apocalypting together. Like, this is your person. And that's a big old commitment.
I got triggered, Lord. I didn't even experience that, but the idea of being stuck in somebody's house in Corona. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Lord. Okay.
Yeah. Crazy. I had a whole COVID partner, and that was...
I didn't have one in house. I had a COVID F buddy, but they didn't live with me by any stretch of the imagination. But Lord, Jesus, sorry.
I mean, and I know a lot. I'm sure I could imagine a lot of relationships probably did not make it through COVID because you weren't thinking about your partner in that way. No shade. I don't know everybody's
I think you're absolutely
business,
right.
But like some people didn't think about this is the person that like good and bad, like. We're stuck in the house together and I have to look at you and your pupils every day and these kids are running around and whatever. Like, yeah, we still got a roof and you still got a job, but also I don't even want to look at you anymore. And every time you walk past me, I want to punch you in the back of the head. Like,
did this happen to you?
Triggered. No, I'm just kidding. But like, that's why for me, it's like, we can make especially the personality that I have, the career that I'm in, we'll be fine financially. Like, I think it'll be fine. And my partner, like, I think it'll be okay. But like, if I don't like you, if we can't do hard stuff together, if I can't trust you, what are we doing?
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I think about it.
I would be interested to my gentleman friends, because I think a lot of women that I know have a similar disposition that you do. To our gentleman friends, whether that's in the comment section or a voice note or a text to one of us. I would love to hear y'all perspective on that, because I think that as women and men in our society, we look at that very differently. And so I go ahead.
And also societally, I think there is a coloring of how people view it that may not actually be true. I think there's this perception that a lot of Black women maybe want to chase the bag, or maybe don't view partnership in a more holistic way, or to the other side of that, where some women are like, I'm independent and I don't need no, like, I think that sometimes there's like maybe a false narrative painted broadly that maybe isn't true for all women. So yeah, I would be interested to know people's perspective on that too,
because I definitely, like I said, I would be like, you need to have a certain level of financial literacy, but because I'm very like, I'm not coming to you for this. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't change my respect level. Like, I'm not coming to this relationship to be financially taken care of. Like, would it be nice? Sure. Like, but that's not what I necessarily, right? God, right? Lord. But that's not what that's also why I think part of the reason might play into like why I don't necessarily care for the legalization and marriage and all this other stuff, unless my partner like really wanted it, I would like consider it. But I just am like, yeah, I'm not coming here for that. And I think, you know, part of that is a little hyper independence, and like, if I've gotten this far in life, taking care of myself, like what I need you to come to the table with really don't have a whole lot to do with money. But to me, financial literacy speaks more than to just money. It speaks to how you can, the forethought that you have for the future. It speaks to self-control. It speaks to the value you put in stability, which is huge for me. So I'm like, those things matter to me, but not necessarily like what the I don't think the number for me correlates to respect.
And I think some men, our male listeners, like, maybe we should challenge how much emphasis we put on finances. Because when we strip away finances, like if you as a man strip away your financial contribution, what are you contributing?
Come on.
And if it's only, I don't think I'm allowed to say this, but peen and U.S. dollars.
Y'all, TikTok been getting us about what the fuck we can say on this fucking show. No,
yeah, I don't know if that's whatever, but like if it's only that and money, you're gonna get people who only want that. And then you're going to feel unfulfilled in relationships. And then you're going to be running around all day talking about women ain't this, women ain't that, women ain't this. And it's like, what are you attracting? What are you attracting?
And niggas be dry. Like,
dry.
Niggas, like
moisture?
Nah, first of all, niggas do be ashy. That's funny. But like lacking personality, lacking the ability to maintain a conversation or have interesting dialogue, or like all of these things is just like, I came here, I'm a man, so I'm entitled to this. I'm like, nigga, what? Like,
yeah. It's very like, I bought you a drink at a bar, so you have to talk to me. Like, it's like, come on. Come on. You're not the only one who has a job. Like, we can, anyway, but yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Good topic.
Good convo. All right. Well, I guess y'all see this at the end, so bye.
Bye.